I strayed away because my parents strayed away.
Right.
I was lost in that time frame, and just as I got older and I started making decisions, and I just felt like I was going down the wrong road. I had a base, but then it was like, okay, Lord, what is this?
This is James Rosseau, a.k.a. Trig, and let me welcome you to the Corelink Solution Show. So let me start here. I would start at the same place. You've probably seen this before because you've watched a few interviews, but I'm going to ask you, what's one thing you can share with this family that those closest to you do not know about Ike Rhythm, including Cool Breeze, including maybe some of your boys you hang out with? What's one thing that they would be surprised to hear you say?
Man, bro, you about to make me give my kryptonite. Well, I'll give you two things. When I was younger, man, I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, but for some reason, and my mom probably don't even know this, but some reason, when I hear Whitney Houston's voice, it makes me get emotional.
Is that right?
Yeah,
specific songs?
Down. So what's the song? I believe. No, not that one.
I Believe.
I believe that
Yes.
For some reason, when that song comes on, if you play it right now, I might shed a few tears. You know what I mean? She just had that type of voice.
She does songs like that right.
Oh yeah.
She does songs like that really right. Even when she sung the anthem at one of the Super Bowls that year. Just the way, Whitney comes across. I mean, yeah. And she lets the sweat drip, bro.
Yes,
she sings. Like she's working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
The second thing, a lot of my family knows, but a lot of people may not know. I share the same bloodline as the late great Little Richard.
Is that right?
Rock and roll
right?
legend.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
How far removed?
So he is maybe like my third cousin.
Yeah.
He's my cousin on my mom's side.
Right.
So him and my grandmother were cousins.
Nice.
And,
you ever get a chance to meet him?
I did not, and I wish I would have.
Sure.
But I heard all the stories, and shout out to the Penniman family. And towards the end of his life, he started preaching the gospel, and I wish I would have got a chance to meet him. But I used to hear all the stories and everything.
Yeah,
so.
I remember hearing that. I'm a documentary buff, so I remember watching that documentary and the James Brown documentary, and really enjoying both of those. Yeah. That's good.
They stopped in, I think in that movie, they stopped in Macon, Georgia, and he met Little Richard, and
that's good. So, man, I mean, just think about. I can only imagine what kind of fun he would be at a family reunion.
Right.
So, okay, good. So talk about your early musical influences, because I know that plays a big part in terms of like where you are today, how you go about music.
Yes,
what
sir.
are some of the things that brought you into music?
So, my dad, he used to listen to all the gospel greats, John P. Key. I mean, every gospel great, he probably had a whole collection. John P. Key, Fred Hammond, the Winans. So I grew up listening to a lot of gospel music. My parents tried to keep me away from hip hop.
Yeah.
But they were not successful.
Clearly.
So I grew up listening to acts like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Tupac, and particularly the South. Like, you got artists like Master P. I'm from Georgia, so you got to mention Outkast, T.I., guys like that. So. Early on, music has played a big role. Of course, Michael Jackson. So just a all-around musical background. I just used to be fascinated.
What made you start rapping? Like, what made you start?
So in high school, we used to have like the rap circles, and I used to be the beat guy. Like I used to be the beat guy. Yeah, I used to be the bebop guy, but I just used to be so fascinated with the guys that were spitting the bars, and I used to always just want to be around that.
Yeah.
And then I decided to step out and try myself. So I started freestyling.
Gotcha.
And then as I got older, I learned how to record professionally. And I always tell people, those are two different arts. When it comes to freestyling
Right.
and recording, those are two different arts. And so I had to learn how to record from my rapping. And I remember being in the studio one time, and I tried to record like I freestyle, and it was like, no, I was out of breath in 1 minute.
Yeah, it's you make such a good point, because so many artists are one or the other, and then you find some that do both.
Yeah,
and it's really incredible. It's like some people who can actually have the concept about the song and then kind of freestyle a recording of it.
Yeah,
it's crazy, right? I mean, it's just gifts and talents overflow.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I find myself now when I record, like I used to write a lot of stuff down, write my raps down, but now I find myself like just writing on the microphone in the studio. I'm writing, like I may pause for a minute and then just stack on top of that.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
That's good. That's good. What I know one of the things that happened for you is kind of, obviously shifting to Christian hip hop and having that moment of, your Damascus Road moment, so to speak. Yes, what happened for you, man, that brought you to the Lord?
So, I was on an independent label, and at the time I was doing secular music, and I got into a lot of trouble as far as like my life. My life was just headed in the wrong direction. I ended up having a child out of wedlock, and I started to ask questions about life, like what is the purpose? What is the meaning? So I grew up in the church, and when I became a teenager, I strayed away, and my parents during that time, they were not going to church. The church that I grew up in, it was really strict based on a lot of rules and things like that, and I strayed away because my parents strayed away, and so I was lost in that time frame, and just as I got older and I started making decisions, and I just felt like I was going down the wrong road, and I just started asking questions like, I had a base, but then it was like, okay, Lord, what is this?
Right.
And he started to answer me, and I began to go to church at a local church close to my house, and I got saved under the leadership of Dr. Maurice Watson of Beulah Land Baptist Church at the time, or Beulah Land Bible Church at the time, and I heard the true gospel. I feel like during that time I heard the true gospel. I've been around church when I was younger, but hearing the true gospel at that time, it was a whole new thing for me, and I was like a baby in the candy store. I just wanted more and more, and
that's good.
So after that point, I still had a passion for music, but I had never been introduced to Christian hip hop. I didn't know what Christian hip hop was. Yeah. And so I always thought rap was just, the secular artists.
Right.
So I started to, at that point, it was just like, man, I'm done with music, rap, because it doesn't glorify God. I feel the convictions in my spirit. Like, I can't keep listening to this. This is contrary to what I'm reading and what I'm learning.
Right.
And so I remember just giving it up. And I had a few people that shed some light on me during that time. I had an aunt. So my aunt, one day I had a conversation with her, and she was like, I went to her, I was like, well, what am I going to do with my music now? I'm seeking God. I'm learning these things about God. And she put it so plain and simple. She was like, why don't you just rap about the Lord? I'm looking like, what? And so that same week, at my job, the job that I was working at the time, I had a coworker. And back then I was listening to CD players, and I would listen to music while I was working and everything. And me and him, he knew, I was, my faith had changed. I had given my life to the Lord. And he comes to me one day and he's like, I got something for you.
Yeah.
So he goes out to his truck and he brings back a binder full of CDs. And he's like, man, check this out. And some of the first artists that I heard was Canton Jones. I heard some Lecrae. And I'm listening to these records. I'm like, man, they got the same hard-hitting beats, 808s, and they are really talking about something. And once again, just like coming into the faith, I was like a kid at the candy store.
Yeah.
I just wanted more and more. And then I stepped out on faith and started recording my own music. And so that's how I.
That's good. And when was this approximately?
This was about I would say 2006.
Yeah. The one you said something really interesting. The one thing you said, you made a distinction. You said I then heard the true gospel.
Yeah.
Why'd you choose those words? What were you hearing before that?
Because once again, the church that I grew up in, it was based on a lot of rules and strict, ideologies.
Got it.
I never heard. So I always say God has two sides. He has a side of judgment and a side of love, and so all I knew was the judgment side. And so the reason I use the true gospel is because my pastor at the time, he brought the full package. He talked about the love of God, and I was just so fascinated because growing up, I always thought that God was just out to
punisher, the ultimate punisher.
Yeah. And so when I started to hear the love of God, along with the judgment of God also, but the core essence of the gospel is love. And so once I got that core essence of love, it was just like, this is the true gospel, and it was revealed to me as well. So
how's that played out in because you're involved in youth ministry at your current church, right?
Yes, sir.
At Hope. So how's that kind of played out in how you approach the youth and your youth ministry?
Yes. So I do the same thing. I present the true gospel. And also God is a relational God. Like, he's all about relationships, and that's what I do with the youth. I build relationships and build that rapport with them and show them the love of Christ. And so and teenagers. So I'm a Hope student leader at Hope Church, and we minister to middle school and high schoolers, and sometimes you have to break through that exterior and it's no better way to do that than with the love of Christ. And so just through the Holy Spirit, he's allowed me to build those relationships to where they look to me and they come to me. And also I tell people all the time, pay attention to the youth. You can learn something from the youth as well.
Absolutely.
And so, I always encourage them and speak that into their lives. Like, look, you have something in you, that I need.
Right.
And so not only am I ministering to them, they're doing the same for me.
Right.
So
how I mean, you make such a good point in terms of learning from the youth and such. How has it impacted your ministry, your music ministry, in terms of how you approach being a recording artist, how you approach running the label, or if it has, how has it?
So I remember at that age how hip hop impacted me. Although hip hop has impacted me in some positive ways, it's also been some negative ways as well. I remember having a certain mindset. And the reason I'm so passionate about the music is because I want to feed the next generation something positive and give them something, life-changing that's going to steer them in the right direction. So I'm very passionate about it because someone's future is on the line with what I speak, and so that's why I go so hard, because I know the next generation is looking up to me, and so it's like I can't let them down. It's a joy as well to be able to have that platform, and I share my music with the youth,
right?
And they love it.
That's good.
So
that's good. What are you intended to do with Living Hydro Music Group, and maybe talk about what it is, the artist roster a little bit.
Living Hydro, what's happening?
Where you going? Where you going with this?
So right now we have 4 artists, including myself. We got Cool Breeze. He's working on some art. He's working on his catalog. We got my partner Jay Burrell, and we got my partner B Hope, which he's an artist and producer. And man, it's about fellowship and building each other's vision. We're from a common place. We both share a love for music, a love for God's people, and so my whole thing is collaboration. I love to collaborate with other artists. I'm constantly collaborating with other artists, and so to have these brothers come alongside of me to build Living Hydro. We're independent. Some things that we're learning and we're growing, but to do it together with true, genuine brothers. I think that's a game changer. And for them to latch on to Living Hydro and see the vision. It's divine. It is divine. And so we all have common goals. We all work together like the church is supposed to work, and it's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful thing, and so I'm just excited about the future. And we're also we also have our solo projects, but we're looking to build a group. And we've been bouncing off of each other for ideas and everything. So the label is Living Hydro Music Group, but the group is going to be called Living Hydro. So
if you had to project 3 years out into the future, what do you see? Where you see Living Hydro?
Man, putting multiple projects out. What I see for them, and I always encourage them, is to build their own home studio. We have a central location, but I see them branching out and doing other things in what you say, the next 3? Did you
next
say
3 years?
Next 3 years, and we've already been talking about that. I know my partner Jay Burrell, he's already been talking about, like, man, we got to get some young cats a part of the team, and so he's already thinking ahead to those 3 years. Like, we got to build up the next generation. So I see Living Hydro and the artists that we have now, I see it spreading like wildfire. Just across the globe. So
what made you even want to start a label? Because I mean, even just being an artist yourself, I'm sure, right? I'm sure that the workload can be overwhelming at times, right? I mean, there's the whole process of creating the music, which in and of itself takes a lot of energy, but then, man, so much starts after the song is recorded, mixed, and mastered, right? What made you say, I'm going to go another further and do a label?
So I've been on 2 different independent labels. And so in 2020, during the COVID, when COVID came to be about, everything was shut down. I had some time off of my job to where I was at the house a lot, and I hadn't since I've been out of high school. I haven't had that much time off. I'm always used to being productive.
Gotcha.
And so I'm at home during this whole COVID thing. They're telling us we can only leave to go get essentials and things like that. And at first it was like, you know, I say the first 2 weeks, it's like, oh man, I ain't got to go to work. You know what I mean? But that yearning to be productive.
Right.
It was like, man, I can't just sit here. I have to do something. People are hurting.
Yeah.
People need to hear some hope. And so I remember stepping out on faith. I went into my savings and I said, okay, I'm doing this, and just being led by the Spirit. It was like, okay, I'm going to build a home setup, right? And so at first it was just to record my vocals. I was like, okay, I'm going to record my vocals. I'm going to send it to a mixing engineer. And I always say, you know, you never really know what's in you unless you keep walking with God. And so I didn't know that a producer was inside of me, an engineer was inside of me. All I knew at that point was I just rap and do music. And so building my home studio, it just brought so much out of me because I was just learning different things. You know, I always tell people, like, YouTube, go look at YouTube. It'll teach you. You know what I mean? So I'm learning all these things, and God just began to elevate me to the next level. I met my brother Cool Breeze, who was on the label, and he comes to me one day. I met him at church, and we had been talking, and we both serving youth ministry. And he came to me one day. He was like, man, you know, I know you do music and everything. And we started talking about music, and he's like, bro, I would really love to get in the studio with me. And during that time, it was like God was already dealing with me about, you know, partnering with other people doing music. And so that gave me an opportunity to start using my production skills. And so he came to the studio, and I hit record, and it was like, okay, we got something going, and we just started building on that foundation. And so I just kept going with it. He joined the label, and then my other two brothers joined the label, and it just blossomed. It got to a point where I started getting new gear. Now I got a full, you know, we got a full-fledged studio, and it's like, oh yeah, we about to build a label. So,
you know, what's interesting to me is it's kind of left brain, right brain thing, right? So your ability to pick up production and engineering, like, I don't know, for me, doesn't surprise me now that I know what you do by day as a aircraft mechanic.
Yes, sir.
Which, by the way, how do you balance that? And that feels like a heavy weight of responsibility, man. That kind of job.
Yes, sir. So, I used to be an aircraft mechanic by trade.
Right.
I just recently moved into a different role. Okay. So now I'm what's called a community resilience coordinator. Okay. Where I help aircraft workers and the DOD for the aircraft for the Air Force. I help them get resources for, you know, things that they may have going on in life. So
you're like a G-man. We got a G-man up in here. You know what I mean? I ask you a couple questions and you'll hit me with the I can't share that. I can't discuss that. But I mean, when I think about, maybe I'm over, you know, sensitive to this. When I think about aircraft, mechanic, the responsibility of that job and getting it right every time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's important. It's very important. Lives are on the line, you know, and that's same thing with the gospel. Like, lives are on the line. So you have to take that extra care, and it could be a real stressful job. Right. And so people need resources, and they need to be able to have that outlet to be resilient in those times.
Yeah. So wait, so do you work for the government now?
Yes.
Were you previously as an aircraft mechanic?
Yes, I was.
Okay, I can't help but ask, man. Tell me about the temperature inside of the government workforce right now. What's
Whew.
What is happening? How are you? What are the conversations like? If you can share, like what's happening?
I'm just gonna be real with you.
Yes,
like,
please.
I try to steer away. It's a lot of things happening in the government that are different, and stress levels are rising.
Right.
But people have come to me and asked me certain questions about resourcing. So now I'm really,
people's stress levels are high. I can only imagine. And was your group, the people you service, impacted by the what do they call it? The offers to resign?
Yes.
Your group you care for, impacted by that?
Yes, our base was impacted by that. I think today was the last day that
I saw something like 3 hours ago that a judge moved to extend it.
Really?
That was about 3 hours ago. And now listen, I don't know if it's totally true or not, but CNN posted and said, a judge stepped in and said people need more time to process that decision.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because it came so fast.
Yeah.
And people having to adjust their lives, like especially with telework.
Did you get the offer too?
Everybody got the
offer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, hold up. Let's step back. We're talking about who you caring for. Let's talk about you. How are you processing that?
I'm not leaving my job.
Okay. So, but isn't the other side of it that if you don't take the deal, there's a high probability that they may terminate you?
It's according to what type of job you have.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people telework.
Okay.
And they've been teleworking so long that some people have moved their families to other states and things like that. And I agree with what the judge has done, because you give people more time to make a decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I definitely think we needed more time. It came so fast.
It felt fast.
Yeah.
But I'm from the outside looking in. Obviously, I don't have all the details, but it just felt fast. And in terms of the time at which you have to make the decision, that window, right? I mean, there's a lot to the process. So, okay, so for the people, how large is the group of people that you provide this care for?
So, the unit that I'm a part of is probably about 500 employees, just the group that that I service.
Right.
I think over the whole entire Robins Air Force Base, and I don't want to get in trouble for this, but I would say
don't disclose anything.
But the group that I service is about 500.
So again, I have to imagine that the call volume went up recently.
Yes, people have been asking.
How have you handled that? How have you helped kind of serve them in this time, so to speak?
Well, as we learn what's going on, I've had to divert people to their leadership. And as it comes down, it's certain things that me in my position that I can't get involved with.
Understood.
If that makes sense.
Understood. Yeah. Understood.
Because it'll come to a point where they'll blame our office for something. You know how people
get misconstrued,
twist words.
Yeah, totally misconstrued.
So I try to stay clear of any politics or anything like that when it comes to that stuff. Hey, go to your leadership. I'm only resource and referral.
Yeah.
So if you need a counselor, I can
get you to the right place.
Yeah.
Have you found yourself having to spend more time as well coaching those leaders who are responsible for those 500 people?
Yeah. So I meet with the leader of my unit, and what we do, we go over data to see what are the trends in our area, so that we can better combat those issues. Once we look at those data and we look at those trends, it could be stress in the home.
Yes.
So we can offer certain counselors to help them with that stress. And so I meet with the leaders every month.
Okay.
And so it's a constant thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Baradox says shout out to you, bro.
What's
Keep up
up,
the good
bro?
work.
Yes, sir.
So I think that's so interesting, because I think so often we see the music side of artists and don't appreciate their full life. So thank you for indulging me in that conversation, because I think it's important to highlight those things. So now, let me ask you, as you're processing all this, how does this impact your music or not?
In my music, I'm very transparent in my music, and in my music, I definitely try to talk about some of the issues that happened recently.
Right.
You know what I mean? In COVID, you can hear me talk about COVID in my music and things that are current. And so, for me, I feel like it when I see things happening in the culture, especially I feel like people are on edge.
Right.
And people don't know what's coming next. And for me, musically, that gives the gospel. You see it all through scripture. When things like this happen, where it's a big climate change and people are going against one another,
right?
The gospel is people need the gospel, and
that much more.
It makes me go even
that much more.
harder, and definitely hearing from God, getting that direction from God, in the season that we're in right now. And you see so much. You see things that you've never seen before,
right?
If that makes sense.
Absolutely.
That's just how
Absolutely.
I feel, and it's like, okay, yeah. You see the prophecies in the word,
right?
You see things coming about, and it's like, okay, this is a fine time to really be true about what you believe in,
right,
and stand on it.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. I think times like this. If you can see the glass half full, right? And I'm an eternal optimist, so I I see the opportunity. There is such a huge opportunity when you're sitting in pockets of uncertainty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
I think people, generally speaking, to your point, and your kind of what's called awakening in 2006, where you start looking around like, what's going on? What is life? Where am I going? So many people have that on their minds, but they don't want to express it.
Yeah.
When things like this happen, it's that much more. People are that much more expressive.
Yes.
Like, what is going on?
Yes, sir.
Where am I going? How does this play out for me?
Yeah.
And that's such a good time to say, man, let me get you grounded.
Oh yeah.
Right?
And then, if people, see you're a Christian, and you continue to let your light shine,
right,
people will notice, hey, he's not panicking, or
Yep.
he's not worried.
Yes.
And he's peaceful, and if you really live that out, people will gravitate to you.
Yes.
I've seen it over and over.
Why do you seem at peace? Why do you seem to still be out here helping people and smiling and continue to go on with life? Although you're aware of everything that's happening, how do you still operate like that?
Right.
Yeah.
And I also have to be, aware of my own issues, my own things that I have to deal with as well. And so I depend heavily on my support system. Like, I'll go talk to my brothers. I'll go talk to someone, to also help keep me grounded in this time as well.
Yeah.
So fellowship, definitely.
Fellowship,
Yeah.
for real. What one of the things that comes to mind for me is that you've been intentional about establishing yourself and your label in this ecosystem. That's how I think we first met, just having that conversation where you reached out and said, hey, trying to learn some stuff, figure the stuff out. What's that journey been like? Trying to, what's the word I'm looking? I was going to say invade. I'm not going to say invade, but interject and kind of get integrated into this, to the music ecosystem of CHH. What's that been like for you?
So for me, it's definitely been something that has helped my character grow as an artist, because you have those seasons where God will test you with dry moments in your walk, when you're an artist, and just speaking on artists, being an artist in particular.
Right.
And so for me, God has tested me, like, to see, will you continue to do this music when nobody's listening?
Right.
When you only have a few, or and God definitely continued to convict me, because it was a point where I wanted to give up, but He continued to convict me, and I thank God that through those lessons that I can actually say that I'm at peace as an artist right now.
Yeah.
Because I'll get up and I'll perform in front of one person or 1 million. And so I've grown in the area of being an artist, and it's helped build my character.
Yeah.
And so, getting through those dry moments and still having the passion to do it, I mean, it's been a game changer for me.
That's good.
God would not let me quit.
Yeah.
I can't quit.
Well, what was the dry moment? Because I'm curious to know, like, when was it? Because Set Me Free seemed fairly popular for a second.
Yes, sir.
For a nice minute. So
Yes,
was
sir.
it pre that or after that?
Pre Set Me Free.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I've had you, man. Okay.
And you know what's crazy is I've been putting music out, and it just seemed like on Set Me Free I actually tried something different.
What's that?
And I reached out. Shout out to my brother Zay Hill. I reached out to my brother, and I was like, you know what? I need someone to partner with me who shares the same passion as me. I think I seen a post that he had where he was saying, man, I want to work with more artists. And so I reached out to him, and me and him, we had conversations, and he told me, he said, Ike, he said, man, I really want to see you work with more artists. And so also connecting with people that are in the music industry, like I stayed 2 hours away from Atlanta.
Right.
So just going to different events, networking with people, I really started to ramp that up. And I've been able to learn from people such as yourself, like people to really impart into me, and I have a few mentors that have really fed into what my vision and what I'm trying to do, and it's been a blessing. And since then, I see the climb. So
yeah. So what if I may ask, what drove you to that point of saying it's time to throw in the towel? Like, were there specific events? Was it a kind of a slow build, or was it like, this happened and I felt?
Yeah, I felt like I was putting out music and it was just going on deaf ears. And I had to realize as an artist that I needed to start learning the business side.
Gotcha.
It's more to it than just doing the art and just putting it out. What good is it to put out music and you don't know the right platforms? You don't know. And so I tell other artists in my group, my team, like, hey, if you're not going to invest the time into learning the business and really, it's cool if you just doing this for a habit, but like you have to invest the time. I look at it as being your own CEO.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
yeah.
Holy Culture Radio, that's a platform that supports artists like myself.
Right.
And so I'm going to take the time to go on Holy Culture, do some research, fill the paperwork out to submit your song.
Right.
Reach out to people,
right.
reach out to use the resources. And
right.
so as I begin to do that, it's like, yeah.
Start opening up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
That's
absolutely.
Good. Do you find a lot of artists kind of resistant to that message?
Yes. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
A lot of artists just don't know. They're just, and I think you all do a great job of empowering artists and leading them to the right resources. But and even if you are, if that's not what you want to do, find you a team that's, hire a team that's
right.
going to help you get that stuff done. But
yeah.
I think most artists are just focused on just the art, and they don't really learn the business side of things.
Do you think it's ignorant, or do you think it's I'd rather not do that?
I think it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, but I try to tell people, be your own CEO. If you're really passionate about doing it, you'll go find
right.
And. I say that because so many times I've fell down and missed the mark and with releasing music.
Yeah.
Like having a rollout for your single or album is so important.
Just what you just said, a rollout.
Yes.
Let's just pause for a second. Having a rollout for your song or album. There's probably some that are watching right now that, what does that mean?
So having a rollout is simply getting your marketing strategy together way ahead of time. You know, let's say you have a single coming out in a month, you know, putting in the time to get your marketing together, get your content videos together.
Mm-hmm.
Like today I'm at Holy Culture, you know, and
I saw you walking with the what's your name? You had your camera and your
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You had everything ready to go.
Yeah,
I saw you.
We gonna get some content.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so I also have a single coming out tomorrow. And so I've already sent my music to DJs who gonna play my music on the radio, but just planning ahead of time, coming up with a strategy, getting with your team, coming up with a strategy, rolling that music out, I think is way better than just releasing it and you know, and you don't have a plan. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good for people to hear. What to the point of plan and having a strategy, how would you describe your music within Christian hip hop? Like there's so many varieties and lanes, and then how would you describe who tends to be your audience? Like who tends to gravitate towards you?
I think people that are hurting right now. My music, it's very soulful. Where I'm from Macon, Georgia, is very soulful. I've been around that my whole life.
Yeah.
It's very soulful. It's very transparent. I started to give my testimony in my music, talk about things that I've been through in my life, the mess ups, the you know, all of the things I went through. And so I would define my music as very transparent and soulful. And I think I've seen here recently people gravitate to my music who are hurting and need a word from God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's going to minister to them and get them through the day. You know, whether it's a TikTok post.
Yep.
I tell my team and I encourage myself as well. And they tell me like, we gotta be a light every day. And so if I can get on my phone and make a minute video that's going to impact somebody's life, it's worth it. It's worth it. You know, and I get comments all the time like, hey, I needed this word at this exact moment. And that's what keeps me. I mean, it keeps me going. So
that's good. How did you because one of the things I'm hearing from you is I'm going to call it the acceptance and usage of creating content and being on social and all those things. And sometimes, you know, people who are in I'll say our age bracket, I'm not sure what your age is, you don't have to divulge, but I feel like we're in that similar age bracket. Sometimes, you know, when you look at some of our peers and colleagues in our age bracket, there's often like, nah, I don't want to do that. What made you accept and start using all those kind of tools?
So it was a struggle for me at first.
Okay.
And I'm still learning some things, you know, but I had to accept that, you know, things are changing, and as a person, you have to constantly be evolving. And so
indeed,
when you get into a space where it's transition, that can be challenging, but I'm learning how to embrace those transitions and to grow in those transitions.
Yeah.
And just go for it and just, you know, just do it. You learn in the process too. Just like me becoming a producer. So I didn't have all the answers when I first started, but I started and I stepped out, and as you step out, you start to evolve and you start to get better. It's just like a baby when they walk.
Absolutely.
At first they may stumble and fall, but as they grow and keep going, you know, they pick it up. So
yeah, that's good. What has if you think about what you want to do this year, what are some of the things that you feel like Ike Rhythm and Living Hydro have to do, or barriers and hurdles you have to cross to get to some of the goals that you guys have this year?
I think that's a good question. Some of the barriers, I think we have to continue to go beyond our region, go to other places that we may be uncomfortable in, to learn different cultures, learn different people, and be around different people.
You mean geographically?
Just geographically. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think that's going to be a major step for for Living Hydro, is to just get out there and move. It's going to be some new things that come about that we have to embrace.
Right.
But once again, going into those transitional spaces, and just embracing it and knowing that, okay, God got us.
Yeah.
He got us in these situations, whatever may come up, and sticking together.
Right.
You know what I mean? We talk about that all the time. We're family. And so when we're out on the road, hey, look out for one another.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think some of those things are going to happen this year, where we're going to be traveling more and more. So
that's good. That's good.
Yes, sir.
That's good. What's the next project people can expect to see from Ike Rhythm?
I'm working on an album.
Nice. When you plan to drop it?
It's probably going to be late summer.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a solo project. And also we're also working on a Living Hydro project right now. So look for an album from Ike Rhythm.
Yep.
And an album from Living Hydro.
How are you approaching putting together the album? I'm curious.
So I try to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah.
I try to have I have a whole catalog of music, and so I try to stay ahead of the game. And really, basically, it's just because I'm always recording. I'm always, whether it be me just recording a hook and I come back and lay the verse, or and I would encourage any artist, please get your own home set up.
I see you're a big fan of that, because the flexibility of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could be 3:00 in the morning.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I got to go lay this down. And I go to the studio and I record. So I have a whole catalog of music.
Yeah.
And so I tend to just pull from my catalog, and also getting together with my team, having a listening party to determine what are the best songs, and also letting other people hear it.
Yeah.
To see, okay, what are the best songs we need to put together.
That's good.
For this album. So so we're in the process of making an album.
That's good. So Ike Rhythm album this summer, Living Hydro probably in there as well. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
Let's wrap on this. When I say ministry industry balance, what comes to mind for you?
Industry balance. You when you think about ministry, you don't want to over spiritualize things to where you don't understand the industry.
Yeah.
And also you don't want to be too industry driven where you forget ministry.
Yeah.
I think that is a balance of both. But the core for me is the core of the gospel message is always going to be there. And so, but you can't be ignorant to learning new things in the industry.
Sure.
Don't be closed-minded when it comes to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Open up your mind, because it's so many other avenues you can reach just by learning industry things.
And you're an advocate of learning, clearly, man. Even before we got here, we were talking, before we got on air, you were talking about, going a few places to just be there, network, learn.
Yes, sir.
Are there a couple, I'm just for the interest of those who are watching, going, okay, great. So I need to have a rollout plan. I need to be thinking about my goals. I need to, like you said, have balance of ministry and industry. Okay, but also some places that I need to go just soak up things. Are there a couple places you're planning to go this year, conferences or whatnot, that you might recommend?
Man, I told my wife the other day, I said, baby, we going to the Stellars this year.
Yeah.
We going to Stellars. We're going to the Dove Awards.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've never been to the Stellars or the Dove Awards.
Okay.
So
you'll enjoy them.
I plan on doing that this year, man.
Yeah. And it's good learning at both of them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, what's on TV are the award ceremony itself, but there's so many learning opportunities, mixers, networking, etc., that are perfect at those. That's good, man. Well, listen, we here. We're going to support, brother. We're looking forward to the new music.
Yes, sir.
Yourself, Living Hydro Music Group. Cool Breeze, what's up? Looking forward to his project. He's going to pull out all his songs and tell people where to catch up with you.
So you can follow me on Ike Rhythm on all platforms. Instagram is IKE_rhythm, RHYTHM. Facebook, Ike Rhythm. TikTok, Ike Rhythm. Yeah, man, I'm all over the net. So,
that's what's up. Thank you for joining, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. Until next time, you know what it is. This is Holy Culture Radio. Keep it locked. And we'll be back soon. 6 o'clock. My man DJ Wado's up with, what he does. He's doing the top 10 countdown, and then he'll be on the wheels still at 7, y'all. Keep it locked right here.
Whew, how'd I do, man?
That's good, bro. That's good, bro.
I was a little nervous. I don't know if you can tell.
I couldn't tell, bro. Especially with that southern delivery.